So how many of you remember the movie or the play Fiddlers on the Roof? Anybody remember that? And you remember that Trevia, the main character, the Jewish milker, I guess. He was a milker type of guy. He sang this song where he would go, tradition, tradition. And the whole thing was about tradition, wasn't it? And then throughout the movie, what happened? Tradition was challenged. Each of his daughters, he had 3 daughters that were at that age, each of his daughters challenged his tradition a little bit more. And in order to keep the daughter and be happy as a family, he had to change. And the next daughter did some rebellion, and he had to change even more. And then the final daughter did the greatest rebellion of all, and she went with a non-Jew. And then he wouldn't change. And the pain in his wife, the pain in him, the pain in the family got really great. But when they had to leave the little town, the daughter runs up to him. Daddy, daddy, daddy. Puts his arms around her, and he wishes her well. He had to bust through tradition in his mind to love. That's really what I want to talk about. Are we free? Are we truly without limits? So I'm going to start at the beginning, which I like to do. What I believe, what I teach, is there is an infinite power and presence. It is everywhere. It has always been. It always will be. I can't define it. It is seen, it is the unseen, it is the known, it is the unknown. It is everything that exists. And what I know is that this power and presence that we call God, we call infinite mind, we call spirit, it took itself, and from itself, it created all things. So all things are created out of it because there was nothing else to create from. Because if God is infinite, remember this, if God is infinite, there's nothing but God. So God took itself and created out of itself individualized expression of the oneness. So that everything then is an individualization of God, so that myself as this individualization of God, everything in me, you'll hear scientists, you'll hear Deepak Chopra, scientists say, we're all made of stardust, right? You've heard that before. Well, let's see the light. I see your light. I see your light. Well, what they're really saying is the divine that is everything is right where you are. The divine is you. And we forget that. We get these egos in place and we forget that. And you know, the Nazarene said this. He said, it is done unto you as you believe. And we truly understand from that one statement that all creative power comes. Our beliefs, whether they are conscious or unconscious, form a mental atmosphere, and the mental atmosphere that we create draws unto us the experience or our response to the experience that is happening around us. So you can see all the controversy in the world going on right now, all the various points of view. Some people are happy. Some people are unattached. There are people who are absolutely miserable right now for no reason in the world other than they choose to be miserable. So let's examine this a little closer. If it is done unto us as we believe, then there must be a power that takes what we believe and makes it so. Does that make sense? Now, this power does not judge. This power does not have a preference. It is a law. It is a law that if you put your hand on a flame, you will burn, right? If you flip on a light switch connected right, the light switch will put on light. But if you take the 2 wires and you put your fingers on it, it's going to fry you. And it doesn't matter who you are. This law is impersonal. It works. This is how there is order in the universe, because there are natural laws that are always working. And we, in our humanness, and we believe we're the highest form of the expression. I don't know that to be true, but from the perspective that I'm in, I believe that it's true. But I don't know, but think about this. If we're infinite and we're an individualization of the one, could we not, in the consciousness that we are, be living in infinite dimensions all at the same time and not even be aware of it? Do you see how we have formed when we have attached our identity to the body and to the mind, we become limited. And I love it when I study the Eastern Masters, and the Eastern Masters talk about, I am not my body. I am not my mind, but I have a body and I have a mind. And you see, what meditation does for us is it takes body, mind, and spirit, and when we meditate, we put a little bit of a pause in our consciousness that separates spirit away from body and mind, just a gap. And when we form that gap, we become the observer. We're no longer attached to things. We're the observer. So in that observer role, we can now use the idea, it is done unto us as we believe, to say, I'm observing my body, I'm observing my mind, I'm not having the experience I want here. So as the observer, I say, okay, what belief is causing me to have this experience? Now, how can I shift that belief to be something I want? See, that's the beauty of meditation. It's like giving you that reboot, that time to just say, okay, this is not who I am. Let me step away. Let me look. Let me reframe. I posted a picture on Facebook today of a picture of me alongside the Ganga River in the Himalayas, the foothills of the Himalayas, when I was there 2 years ago. It was my anniversary of that. And I remember so clearly that this picture was posted on day 3. There was rain and stuff like that. Nothing was really happening. And then we were told that this humongous flood was coming at us. So if you watch the Ganga River's about 50 yards wide, okay? By the time it was done, it was 300 yards wide. It was right up to the footsteps of the ashram. We were watching houses collapse into the Ganga River. 6,000 people killed. 100,000 people had to be helicoptered out. We were a part of that group. I won't go into that adventure. But I remember so clearly because we had been meditating. Even through 3 days, we had meditated in silence, and then we meditated another 6 days before we took our trek out. So we had 9 days of meditating of about 12 to 13 hours a day. So when we were hiking through the foothills of the Himalayas to get out, my mind, my soul was out here, watching my body here. I've never had that experience before. But in that experience, when you become detached from your body, when you become detached from your mind, there's no pain. There is absolutely no fear. Do you see what limits us is that when we attach to the physical body, we become fearful because we're afraid it'll hurt. We're afraid that if we die, it's over. Well, we don't understand. We go back to the very beginning. We go back to the premise. There's an infinite power and presence that has always been and always will be. It created out of itself all the individual points of consciousness that exist, and we are that. Which means that the point of consciousness that I am and the point of consciousness that you are eternal. You are eternal. You will always be. It doesn't mean, so what happens after death, in my understanding and the way I believe, is that I shed this body. I shed the patterns of thought that I have here, but the essence of who I am moves into whatever that next dimension is. And I believe that next dimension will be an eternal thing. I don't know if I'll be in one place and this. I don't know. I don't have an idea. But at the core of all that I am, through everything I've studied, through all of my meditations, I believe that we are eternal. Because energy cannot be destroyed. Is that not right? Science has proven that. Are you not energy? So when we think about it is done unto us as you believe, what does the belief do? The belief molds energy. When we shift the belief, we create a new mold. The energy fills that, and that becomes our experience. Isn't that fascinating? Most of the time, when we're building this mold, we build it unconsciously. We build it because of the habits of our parents, the habits of our families, the habits of society, the habits of the country we live in, the religion we're brought up in, what political party we're brought up in. And you see what's happening is we've got all these traditions, don't we? And did we fully choose those traditions? No. Because we were so young, we blindly accepted them as our own. And when we blindly accepted them, remember, the law doesn't care. The law simply took whatever it is that we believe, no matter how we got the belief, and it brings it right to us in our experience. And so the path to freedom, the path to being unlimited, is to remember that science will tell you, as the neural pathways of your brain wire, they create like grooves in your brain. So it's like if you were at the top of a hill, you would have a groove that if you took and rolled a bowling ball, it would go into the groove and go down the hill, right? And if you put that ball there, every time it's going to go down that same rut. Because the rut is the belief. It is the thought pattern that you've thought over and over and over again. So to create a new belief, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to imagine the possibility. Can you even imagine going beyond the limits of your mind and building a new idea of what you want? Then the work is building a new groove, creating a new rut. And what do we teach about that? We teach that what we call affirmative prayer, through the use of affirmations, through the use of gratitude, through the use of directed thinking. You see, I'm not one that believes in positive thinking. I think positive thinking is a myth. Because in positive thinking, are we not automatically bringing judgment in? So what's positive and what's negative? I don't know. To one person it's one way, to another person it's another. But directed thinking means it's a conscious choice of where I want my thoughts to go so I can have a new experience. And if I choose that new experience, now I'm going to roll my bowling ball down a different path. And I'm going to try to keep rolling it down that path to build a new groove, to build a new rut. And then what happens is, when I do that enough, I call that my daily practice. When I do that enough, this rut now becomes automatic. This rut, the grass grows in, right? All the things fill in. So it's no longer automatic over here. It's now automatic over here. So we change our lives by building new beliefs, new patterns of thought, and we put them on autopilot. See, that's the beauty of this power. We can go from having to think about it all the time, but when we've done our daily practice enough, we build it, it's auto. And then once we've got that done, we say, okay, what belief over here can I change? And we will go to another belief, and we build another rut or another way down the mountain, so that we start putting things on autopilot so that we don't have to consciously be thinking about, well, I got to worry about health today. I got to worry about health. I've got to worry about relationships. And I got to worry about abundance. And I've got to worry about being a parent and all that. You see, when we build in a process of thinking that is directed by our conscious choice, we're in control of our life. We're in control of our experience. It sounds easy. It sounds so easy. And the beauty that I will share with you is we can't get it done. Remember, we're infinite expressions of the one, so we're always going to be striving for more. With all the contrast out there, what does contrast do? It creates new desire. And then we get to consciously look at a new desire and say, do I want that to be in my experience? I love getting in front of a group of people that are not necessarily thinking the way I'm thinking. And I love being able to give this message without offending anyone. Because people have developed a mindset. Their brain is so far developed. Their ability to be aware is different. Every human being is different. So what I try to do is I try to give info that causes people to question. Because if I can ask the question and I can stir in the mind the possibility, they take over. You see, we don't have power over anyone else. We have power over ourselves. I have no power over Gene. I've tried that. It did not work. That truly makes a relationship absolutely miserable. Because think about it. in the vows that I use during a marriage ceremony is that we support and grow each other, that we accept each other as we are, that we ask for what we want when we want it, that we speak to our values freely without any idea of retribution coming back to us. Because if we cannot be authentic, how can we be in love? You see, there are no two people alike. There are no two fingerprints alike. There are no two blades of grass alike. There are no two snowflakes alike. There is nothing that is like anything else. Why would the infinite intelligence that we call God create two of the same thing? That would be limiting, wouldn't it? So I ask you this, and this is what I want to close with. Who are you? Are you unique? Or are you trying to be like someone else? Then ask yourself, why the hell would I ever want to be like anyone else? Why wouldn't I want to be this man, this woman, this person, this expression? Why wouldn't I want to be unique? Why wouldn't I want to be like the person who's so free of all bonds that you could go out into the grass and dance without caring what anyone thinks? You see, freedom is here. Limitation is here. And the power to change it is here. Let's go within. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.